friends, today we are going to see one new point from the nuclear chemistry, and that point is neutron activation analysis, that is NAA. So in this technique, the element whose amount in a sample is to be determined that will be transformed by the N gamma reaction into its radioactive isotope, and from the activity of the product, the amount of the target element that will be calculated. So we will see what is meant by neutron activation, and then we will see how the amount of the product nuclei that can be calculated. So the neutron activation analysis is an ultra sensitive technique which is used to determine trace amount of the elements in the samples by bombarding them with a high neutron flux and measuring the rate of decay of the radioactive elements formed by this bombardment. So as I have told, in the neutron activation analysis, we can bombard the neutrons on the target material, and from that we have to form the new nuclei, and there is a emission of the gamma radiation. So N gamma reaction is a main basis of the neutron activation analysis. So each radioactive element has a specific and well known decay rate, or you can say that it is a half-life. And by measuring the decay rate, the element and its concentration can be accurately found. So after measuring the decay rate, that is a decay constant, then the half-life, so we can easily calculate the concentration of the compound or the isotope. So the process can be used without destroying the original sample, and indeed has been used on works of art and samples of the historical significance. So the neutron activation analysis technique, it is a non-destructive technique. Then this analytical technique bases its principles on the capturing of the neutrons by the nuclei, thereby including radioactive emission from the excited nucleus, that is the N gamma reaction. Then the sample is bombarded with the neutrons, causing the elements to form the radioactive isotopes which emits particles and radiations like the gamma radiations. And the beta particles emission is energetically continuous, where as a gamma ray emission, this is a discrete. And the radioactive emissions and the radioactive decay paths for each element are well known. Using this information, it is possible to study the spectra of the emissions of the radiative sample, and from that we can determine the radionuclide is there. So we can identify is the radionuclide is present there. So this is a qualitative analysis, and when we measure the concentration of that radionuclide, then it is a quantitative measurement. So that from this we can conclude that the neutron activation analysis is a qualitative as well as a quantitative analysis. Now, upon radiation with the neutron, a thermal neutron whose energy is 0.025 electron volt to 0.5 electron volt, that neutron will interact with the target nuclei via a non-elastic collision, causing neutron capture. So we can see that this diagram, you can see here is a target nuclei or the initial isotope which we have taken. Then on this target nuclei, when we bombard the neutron, after bombardment of neutron, there is a formation of a compound nuclei. Means what? The target nuclei captures the incident neutron, and there is a formation of a compound nuclei, and the radiations will be emitted as we have told, the N gamma reaction. So N will be absorbed and gamma will be emitted. Or the neutron is a projectile and the gamma is a ejectile. So we have bombarded this neutron as a projectile on the target material. Then this target material will capture this neutron, and there is a formation of a compound nuclei. After that, there is a immediate emission of the gamma radiation, and this is known as a prompt gamma radiation. From the compound nuclei, it will get emitted. So, when we bombard the thermal neutron of energy 0.025 electron volt to 0.5 electron volt, that neutron will interact with the target nuclei and there is a non-elastic collision, and here the neutron will get captured by the target isotope. The energy imparted to the product nuclei by the neutron, it is equal to kinetic energy of the neutron plus binding energy of the neutron in the produced nucleus. And the imparted electron excites the nucleus to a higher energetic level. So, the nuclei with the higher energy is there. Then this excited state is unfavorable and the compound nucleus will almost instantaneously de-excite to the ground state, or there is a relaxation into a more stable configuration through the emission of the particles and one or more characteristic prompt gamma photons. So we can see here, as we have bombarded neutron on the target material, it will capture the neutron. So the energy of the target material is increased, and that energy we have written here, energy imparted to the product nuclei by the neutron, that energy is the kinetic energy of the neutron plus the binding energy of the neutron in the produced nuclei. So this is the new produced nuclei, and its energy is very higher because it is in the excited state after absorbing the neutron. So when it is in the excited state, it will come to the ground state, so that there is the emission of the photon, and that is a prompt gamma photon. Then in most cases, this more stable configuration yields a radioactive nuclei. So this compound nucleus will lead to the formation of the radioactive nuclei. So the newly formed radioactive nuclei now decays by the emission of both particles and the delayed gamma photons. So this formed radioactive nuclei will undergo the emission of the beta particles, emission of the delayed gamma, and there is the formation of a product nuclei. So from the target nuclei we can form a product nuclei, but there are in between this kind of the reactions will occur. So target nuclei that will be converted into compound nuclei after absorbing the neutron, then immediate emission of the gamma ray, this is called as a prompt gamma ray, and then after that there is a formation of a radionuclide from the compound nuclei, and this radionuclide will emit the certain particles, it will be alpha, beta, and then there is a emission of the gamma radiations also, but the time required for the gamma emission, this is higher, so this is called as a delayed gamma ray, and then there is a formation of a product nuclei. So this decay process is at a much slower rate than the initial de-excitation, that is a prompt gamma photon ejection, and is dependent on the unique half-life of the radioactive nucleus. So this prompt gamma production and the delayed gamma production, that will depend upon the half-life of the radioactive nuclide. Then these unique half-lives are dependent upon the particular radioactive species and can range from fractions of a second to the several years. So this is the basic principle of the neutron activation analysis. And this is the diagram of the principle which we have written here. Then we will see how the concentration of the product nuclei that will be calculated, or how the activity of the product nuclei form that will be calculated. So let's start. So in the neutron activation analysis, the element which is to be estimated is allowed to undergo in gamma reaction. So initially we have taken any nuclei, and on that nuclei we have bombarded the neutron, and then there is a formation of the product nuclei and injection of the gamma rays. So the initially which we have taken the element or the isotope or the nuclei or the target material, it will undergo the N gamma reaction, and there is the induced activity. So that activity will be measured by using the neutron activation analysis technique. And that induced activity, which is proportional to the amount of element present in the sample. So the activity that is dependent upon the amount of element which is we have taken. So see the general reaction, or one example is given here. We have taken a sodium 23 as a target material, and we have to bombard the neutron. So this neutron is a thermal neutron, as I have told, its energy is less. It is 0.05 0.025 to zero point 0.5 electron volt. So that energy, thermal neutrons are bombarded on the sodium 23. After capturing the neutron, sodium 23 will become sodium 24. One neutron will get increased. That's why the mass will increase by 1. And there is a emission of the gamma ray photon. So the activity is measured on the suitable counter, that will be GM counter or the scintillation counter. Mostly the scintillation counter is used for the detecting the gamma radiations. So the activity is measured on the suitable counter, and it is related as AT is equal to N phi sigma in bracket 1 minus e raised to minus lambda t. So what are the components which are included in this equation? We will see here. So AT is the induced activity at time t. As we have bombarded the neutron on the element, it will become a compound nuclei. So AT is the induced activity at time t. Then N dash is a number of product nuclei that are formed, which is equal to AT divided by lambda. Then phi is a neutron flux. Its unit is neutron per centimeter square per second. Sigma is a neutron absorption cross section, and 1 Barns is equal to 10 raised to minus 24 centimeter square. Then lambda is the decay constant of the formed radio element, and the T is the time of irradiation, and only capital M is the number of atoms of the elements. So this is the equation which is used to calculate the induced activity at time t. Now, that induced activity at time t, that is AT, is the activity of the product. It measured immediately at the end of the irradiation when time is equal to t. And if there is some time lag between end of the irradiation and the measured activity, that is cooling period is t, then we can write the AT as a AT dash. So AT dash is equal to AT into e raised to minus lambda t dash, because when we measure the immediately activity, it will be AT, and when there is a certain time period is gone, then we have measured the activity, means the activity will be reduced. Okay, so that activity is AT dash, and AT dash is equal to AT, that is the activity measured at time t. That means immediately after bombardment of the neutrons on the target material, we have measured the activity, that is AT into e raised to minus lambda t dash. T dash means the elapsed time, okay, and lambda is a decay constant. Then this equation can be written as, just write the value of this AT here, and we know the AT value N phi sigma in bracket 1 minus e raised to minus lambda t. So just I have written this here and rewritten the equation for AT dash. So the weight W gram of the particular element present in the X gram of the sample is known from. So we have taken initially the W gram of the particular element, which is a target material, okay, and this is present in the X gram of the sample. Okay, sample will contain more isotopes also. So that weight will be calculated as NM divided by M, and N is AT dash divided by phi sigma in bracket 1 minus e raised to minus lambda t into e raised to minus lambda t dash. So just by rearranging this equation, we can find out the N value, and N is equal to AT dash divided by this one. So just W is equal to M divided by L, into 80 dash divided by 5 sigma in bracket 1 minus e raised to minus lambda t into e raised to minus lambda t dash. So here two terms are new, m and l. So m is the atomic weight of the element and l is the Avogadro's constant or the Avogadro's number, that is a 6.022 into 10 raised to plus 23. Then for the practical application, the NaA, we can use the new equation to find out the weight of the desired element in the given sample. So that will be calculated by using this equation. AT is equal to WLR 5 sigma in bracket 1 minus e raised to minus lambda t divided by 100 m. So again here W is the weight of the element, L is the Avogadro's number, R is the isotopic abundance and phi is the neutron flux in neutron per centimeter square per second, and m is the molecular weight of the mass and AT is the activity which is measured at time t. So this is the formula which is most important formula to calculate the weight of the desired element in the given sample. So by just rearranging this equation and divide this part to the left side, 80 divided by this one, we can determine the weight. Okay, so weight of the element that will be calculated by using this equation. Now the applications of the NaA. So there are several applications of NaA. Out of that I will discuss only 4 applications here. So first application is the neutron activation analysis technique that is useful for the detection of the chromium. So the chromium content that will be detected from the ruby. So the ruby contains the natural chromium, that is the chromium 50, okay, and that will be converted into the chromium 51 by using the N gamma reaction. Thus chromium 51 formed after N gamma reaction, it will become a radioactive isotope and its half-life is 27.7 days. So by irradiating the known sample of the chromium along with the ruby sample, the amount of chromium and its percentage that will be determined graphically. So simply the chromium contained from the ruby laser that will be determined by the N gamma reaction. So initially chromium present naturally, it is chromium 50. When we bombard the N gamma, it will be converted into the chromium 51 and half-life is 27.7 days. So the chromium content that will be found in the ruby, that is 0.1 to 0.4%. Then we see the second application, the manganese content of tea leaves. So the Mn content in the tea leaves that will be found by using the Na. So the monoisotope, that is Mn55, which is present in the tea leaves. Okay, so we have to form the radioisotope. So just we have to convert it into Mn56 by bombarding the neutrons. So there is a N gamma reaction and by which the Mn55 will get converted into Mn56. Again the radioisotope which is formed is Mn56 and its lifetime is 2.58 hours. So by measuring the activity of T sample, the Mn can be eliminated graphically by the comparative method. So the monoisotope Mn55 becomes by N gamma reaction and 2.58 hours is the decay time, or we can say that it is a half-life of the Mn56. The neutron irradiation of a known weight of dried tea leaves or the better its calcined ash along with a series of samples of known Mn content reveal that the tea leaves contains around 0.13% of the manganese, about half of which passes into the brew and the rest goes to the waste. Then we will see the third application, that is the arsenic content in the hairs. So as we know, the slow arsenic poisoning will occur, so that we have to find out the isotope. So the isotope of the arsenic which is naturally present, that is arsenic 75, After N gamma reaction, that will be converted into arsenic 76 and its half-life is 26.3 hours. So any arsenic entering the human body is known as to accumulate in the roots of the hair and move along the length of the hair as it grows. So the normal rate of the growth of the hair in most people being 0.35 millimeter per day. If a person dies of the slow arsenic poisoning, the arsenic having been administered in the small doses over a long period and the usual mass test for the arsenic through dependable for a single length dose may fail. If the amount residing in the viscera is too small, we have to find out the person is poisoning with the arsenic. So the hairs that can be analyzed by the neutron activation analysis, then that can be converted into the short segments and the distribution of the arsenic 76 all along the hair length scanned and the pattern compared with the distribution of the arsenic in the hair of the normal person, and from that we can say that the person is poisoned with the arsenic or not. Then we will see the next application, that is archaeological specimens. So the by using neutron activation analysis, we can determine the precise composition of the some ancient coins non-destructively, and the results have thrown light on their historical and geographic origin. Then similarly, the analysis of the colored pottery shreds of the archaeological discoveries go to establish the possible age, geographic proximity to available minerals, and trade routes in the world. So, besides throwing light on the development of the ceramics in that region and on that epoch, all this is achieved without destroying the valuable specimens. Then we will see the advantages of the neutron activation analysis. So the neutron activation analysis required very small sample around the 0.1 ml or the 0.001 gram. Then it is a non-destructive technique, can analyze the multiple element samples, then often doesn't need the chemical treatment, then technique is a high sensitive, high accuracy, then requires the very low detection limits for the 30 to 40 elements.